Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the eSports Report. Puckett and Benson. Benson about to break down Skyrise Search and Destroy, one of the new game types here in Season 3.
I'm so excited because this is a map that I loved when I used to play, some of the older titles, and I'm so glad they brought it back. Of course, it's in Season 3 for Search and Destroy specifically. You saw, the pros playing it yesterday. But I'm going to take a quick look at one of the maps that we have here. I just try and break it down a little bit for you guys. Obviously, you have the A-bomb site, the B-bomb site, attacking spawn, defensive spawn up top. Now, for me, the key on this map is always going to be those snipes. The immediate spawn snipes. You saw it a lot in previous titles. You're going to see it again in AW. But the difference for me is how close the attacking team spawns to the window as opposed to the defensive team. That's just, a quick double dash forward and then you're ADSing. Got that thermal scope, you'll be able to pick off anyone who's challenging you over on the defensive side. The difference maker for me, though, is if you do run someone with two snipers, potentially, or maybe if you just want to use one, you don't want to challenge that window, you're not feeling too confident, head over towards that middle area, bottom of the spawn, and just try and have a quick line of sight pretty much all the way across, because that's going to give you a lot of intel on what the defensive team is doing. If they're going to try and cross, etc., it's going to help you out massively. One other thing that you really need to watch out for is going to be players going straight towards that underground. That's going to open up so much, and underground is going to be one of the key spots highlighted with that red oval for the attacking teams. If you can get under there, you're right underneath the A-bomb site. You have to expect though defensive players doing exactly that, which again is why that player bottom middle watching to see what the defensive team is doing is so crucial. Again, another key spot, really power position, is if you can get out of this doorway. By doing that, that opens up such a big lane. You can go all the way down towards that defensive spawn. As well, of course, you have the top gas canister, which is such a key position. And as well, top 3. You have to bear that in mind. I'm going to highlight that just generally in a big old circle. It's pretty hard to get up, especially in a competitive environment, but if you can get up there, that is such a big power position. One of the key problems that we kind of seen players do a lot is trying to break out and head over towards this B-bomb site. It's pretty tough, and one of the main reasons really is because of this wall that's right there, that blue top hole, and it's so easy to wall bang. If you get someone top helipad, you're pretty much going to die every single time. As you can see, Chris, if you just kind of look directly in front of you, there's that blue top hole and wall. It's just so easy to shoot straight through, and if anyone tries to hide there, you're pretty screwed, to be completely honest with you. Now, from the defensive standpoint, key here is going to come down to those snipers. You need to have your sniper rifle players on point. And as I said, it is a little bit longer than the attacking side to get to that pre-snipe spot, but I feel like you can kind of use that a little bit to your advantage. And as well, the problem really for me is if you're trying to go underground here, if someone is on the attacking side has gone towards bottom middle, that's so easy to get picked off from. But once you are on that defensive side, of course, there's this kind of second story, the double windows up top. Such an easy position to control the B bomb site from. You have corners, you can use them to your advantage. Don't really expect to see anyone head down towards the crane unless they're feeling particularly reckless. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But honestly, again, underground, so key. And for me, throughout Season 3 on this map, that's where you're going to see those big battles underground for both teams.
And there was a lot of fights last night when we were watching isolation play on this map. Dito loved to post up kind of in this window. And
yeah, that's the top second window.
Always watching over this B bomb site. Now, the big thing I noted last night was how important the explosive canisters are, because you guys talked about it a little bit earlier in the week, but I got to see it firsthand. You can blow up basically everything. We saw multiple players trying to plant at B cleaned up. Also, down at A, if you're trying to attack in and you're Llama God, you're going to want to stay away from this guy.
Yeah.
That blew him up multiple times. You even saw a kill in the doorway and in the middle. All you have to do is drop a grenade. Frag grenade, not your stun. But you got that explosive barrel, and you got this one right here. These were the bane of Llama God's existence last night, getting kill after kill.
They're so sneakily placed as well, because if you're on the attacking side, you're pushing that A-bomb site, and you recognize someone, like you were saying, Dito, top second, and you're kind of in the middle of the air and you try and stomp down. Guess what? You stomp down on one of those barrels, you basically just suicided. So you have to bear that in mind, because there are so many explosive canisters, there's the big ones, the small ones. You really need to think a little bit smarter, because you can't, for example, exactly where you are now on that top crane, you can't really play that position unless you pre-explode it. And then that's where it's going to get very interesting, because if teams kind of say, all right, well, this side we're going to try and push out towards the A-bomb site, let's pre-nade the canister, blow it up, then we don't have to worry about it later on. I think that's a strategy which you could see, because on that attacking side, if you go bottom middle, if you recognize no one on the defensive side is trying to challenge you on the sniper rifle, you can aim straight up at the roof, throw a couple of grenades over, and it will land right on that gas canister. Guess what? You eliminate that problem for the rest of the round.
Is it worth the grenade?
Yes, 100%. If you're making that team push to A, if you can get that vantage point of top gas canister, that's huge, because how are you going to get challenged? Someone can fly off the map, yeah, but how are they going to get back on the map?
I saw a lot of sneaky plays around the outskirts of the map as well. Let's take a look at your mini-map one more time. I saw quite a few players making the run from down low, getting behind their opponents. I think this is something that you're going to be watching. Actually, on the far left and the far right of the map. So, like, they drop down right out on the outside, able to make some power moves. So look for some big flanks. Neslo was a player constantly trying to use it last night. We'll see how the meta continues to change, because I know Chino is also showing how he likes to use that for Rise.
I like it. Some of the old school players are going to love that map being back, because they've played it already. So it kind of gives them that unforeseen advantage. Just, all right, well, how's the map change with exo movement? Really? Not that much.
All right, well, we're down to the last 15 minutes. That means it's time to start talking about tonight's matches. Let's take a look at our schedule for the evening. 4 more matches coming your way live here on MLG.TV. We're kicking it off with one of the most exciting matches I think we're going to see this evening. Elevate versus Envious. Neither team dominant so far in terms of our standings, but I think this is going to be a big one. Envy looking to improve up to 2-1. Elevate trying to stop them. Also, TCM will face off against Orbit. When you look at all the teams, TCM, I think this one has a lot of question marks around it. How strong will this squad be? Optic Nation plays Rise Nation. Big match for both teams who are struggling early on. And then, of course, FaZe versus Optic Gaming. Second night for FaZe. Optic Gaming currently sitting pretty at 2-0.
Can't wait for that game. Can't wait for that game. It's the rematch of Season 2 Finals. It's going to be so good, because you really get to see, is that FaZe squad as good as we expect them to be?
Let's start off with our 6 o'clock match. We have Elevate versus Envious. Now, both teams looking to improve to 2-1. One of them obviously going to go down to 1-2. Ben, I got to ask you, who are the players to watch for each team tonight?
Honestly, I'm keeping my eye out on Classic. I think he's going to be such an important player throughout this whole evening. He needs to be doing his role perfectly. There's been a little bit of confusion, really, to who's running that main AR, the main BAL, who's going to be that BAL player. Classic seems to be kind of doing it at first. Now he's switching over to a bit of a flex role where he's going to use his AR and he's going to use the SMG. But one thing's for sure, he's one of the most underrated players, I feel, in the whole community. He's so talented at what he does, and you have to keep your eye out for him. On Envy, though, I mean, how can you say anyone other than Octane? You saw what he did yesterday. The guy's an absolute animal. If he can continue slaying at distance as he is, opening up the map for his aggressive SMGs, this Envy squad is going to be in perfect position to take the series.
Looney and Aqua haven't seemed to be able to hit this stride at the same time. So that's what I'm looking for tonight. Also, look for that Classic and Saints duo. Their teamwork is building, and it is becoming dangerous for Elevate. I wouldn't be surprised to see Elevate up over Envious. I know a lot of people thinking Envious is the shoe-in there. TCM versus Orbit, though. Aches and TP playing together for the first time since the Dynasty run on Complexity. They're going up against an Orbit team that has gone to Game 5 versus Epsilon last night. They've thrown series, basically, despite outslaying their opponents on Hardpoint against Isolation. Talk to me a little bit about this matchup. Can TP and Aches succeed with EU teammates tonight against Orbit?
I feel like it isn't necessarily just with EU teammates. I feel like it's just the players and the style of which they have. I mean, you know, Aches and TP are a wonderful duo. They're so good. But the problem with this team is they don't have a dominant BAL player. And that is going to cost them. I mean, you saw yesterday how important Octane was, for example, how important Clayster is, how important Formal is. This team don't have that. Now, we haven't seen them play, so we don't know exactly what the roles are going to be. Seems fair to assume that Moose is going to be running that BAL. But if I say to you, you know, name the top 5, top 10 BAL plays in the game, Moose is nowhere near that list. Like, he doesn't even come into the conversation at that point. There's so many other top flight players who are just so talented.
There's 3 of them on Denial, I could point out.
That I feel that, honestly, this duo is going to struggle.
I think it needs to be this guy. Can Aches go back to the AR role?
100%.
Will he bow for this team? I think that's a big question.
I think he needs to. I think he needs to.
You know TP sticking with the SMG. Same thing is going to be said for Jerd. He's going to be their key SMG slayer. I want to see, can Aches keep up with the likes of Octane in a one-on-one battle fight? I think he's got potential to do it.
It depends where he's at in his individual mindset. It's something we've talked about all through AW, you know, how motivated is Aches. I feel like now, you know, he's made himself back into the season. He's got to be feeling pretty excited about Black Ops 3. He knows it's very similar to Black Ops 2. They were the glory days, really, for him. You know, he went on a huge win streak, so I expect to see him kind of maybe cruise through Season 3. I don't think this is something which is kind of, you know, go super hard, because I think he realistically knows he's not going to win it with the team he's in.
Really?
Yeah, you have to be realistic. I think there isn't a chance. There's no way TCM can be considered in that top echelon of teams.
I think he's Jerd is a guy, if I was building a team, Jerd is in my top 10 that 100%. I'm going for without a doubt.
I agree, but Moose is nowhere near.
All right, let's keep it moving here. On to our 8 o'clock matchup, Optic Nation, Rise Nation. We talked about how big of a matchup this is for both teams. Just like the Envy Elevate match, both teams looking to go up 2-1 in their overall records here. So let's take a look here at the matchup. Can Wheats compete with Moch when it comes to the Bow fights?
I mean, yeah. I think he can. You know, we've seen since COD Champs, Wheats has been playing extremely well. Moch, a fantastic player, though. He's improved this Optic Nation lineup just so significantly. Still think, though, this new lineup a little bit unproven. We need to see them consistently get those wins, and that's going to be the key for me tonight. You know, Moch turns up, they should have no problem.
Really, for me, it's all going to come down to TJ Halley for Rise Nation.
You're a TJ fan.
When they got the win, TJ was the best player on that night, much like Octane was last night for Envious. So, TJ, all eyes are on you, buddy. Good luck. On the other end, though, closing out the match night, we have FaZe Optic Gaming. This is the juggernaut battle. FaZe put together for one reason alone. That is to finally dethrone Optic Gaming as the top team in Advanced Warfare. The two Goliaths will go to toe-to-toe at 9 p.m. Probably a little bit later if we have any more Game 5s like we saw last night. But I got to ask, which SMG on FaZe will be the key to beating Optic Gaming?
Honestly, I think you have to look at Zuma. He's a very, very high progressive SMG. He needs to be getting in those hills, shutting down Scump. And that's going to be the key battle. It's Zuma versus Scumpy on those hard points. Who is winning? And also, can Zuma try and get in Formal's face? If he's aggressive enough, pushing through the hills, trying to push out Formal, if he can win a couple of those gunfights, it opens up the map for all of his teammates. And maybe this FaZe team can do what they've been made to do and beat Optic Gaming. Find out tonight, 9 p.m.
It's going to be a big matchup, guys. Send us your predictions. We had our predictions going here from casters. Let's take a look at some of our guesses from last night. I did not have the best evening.
Didn't go well for Sir Christopher Puckett.
And ISO choked. They were up 3-0, Game 5. Blame them. Epsilon choked. They, of course, naded their teammates round 11.
Yep.
So I feel my predictions were pretty solid outside of teams letting us down. Matt and I had the same picks going into the night. You were convinced to switch to Orbit. You fought against Max for it. You're happy you did now. I see you sitting there in second place behind Matt. And then Maven, last night.
He changed his predictions.
Right before we went live. He switches from Orbit over to Epsilon. He would have tied you at 8. Instead, he's sitting there at the bottom with me.
I think it's going to look drastically different now at the end of tonight, because in terms of tonight's predictions, I think we actually have one of the bigger disparities. I know you secretly went for a change last minute on one of your games, especially that 9 p.m. game.
Yeah, I wanted to say FaZe right away, and then Max told me, he's like, dude, you're in last place. I was like, all right, let's go with the gut. Optic Gaming, until proven wrong, is still the #1 team in the game.
I was going to go for FaZe, just simply because Optic haven't started off the season as strong as they could have done. Let's be honest, you know, played 2 games, they've gone all the way to Game 5 every single time, correct? They played 10 matches. So it's not a comfortable start for them. But I feel in what has basically become an internal competition, I need to stay with the crowd, go with Optic. I assume Optic's going to win. It's a safe pick, but I'm trying to catch up Mr. X there. You know, he's 1 point ahead of me.
Maven, of course, the lone man going with Rise Nation. Everyone else going Optic Nation. And then I think, Ben, the difference between you and I tonight, it starts, I'm the only one going Envy. Everyone else is on board with Elevate. Octane made me a believer in this team, and I don't think they've reached their potential yet, but they showed glimpses of it last night. I think this is going to be one hell of a match. I hope it goes to Game 5. Guys, here's a look at the schedule one more time of how it is all going to shake out. Elevate Envy to open it up. TCM Orbit at 7 o'clock. Ben's going Orbit. I'm going TCM. Optic Nation and Rise. Will Maven be right? Will Rise be able to take it there? And, of course, all forecasters going Optic Gaming, but I don't think any of us would be too disappointed if FaZe comes out with the win this evening.
Oh, I think it makes it so interesting. It really does, because that's what the team has kind of been made to do, right? They put these plays together to compete with Optic Gaming. One really interesting thing, which we haven't really been touching upon when we've done these predictions, is actually the maps. Yeah. And this is super, super important for me, because it's all good and well kind of sitting there and saying, oh yeah, you know, we think this team is better, but maps are huge. Sometimes you see teams with terrible maps that they just can't seem to win, and sometimes you see them with huge map records. And one thing which is really important, we'll start with the first game of the day, because of course that's going to be coming up in 5 minutes time, live right here. It's Team Elevate, Team Envy. Game 1 is a hard point compound. Now, what's interesting about this map is we've seen a couple of teams play it very differently. Some people like to run the 4 SMGs, other teams like to have that aggressive battle. Now, I'm very curious to see what Envy kind of decide to do, because if Octane is going to run his riot with his battle, then yeah, maybe they can take that. But how aggressive Elevate are when they use those submachine guns on a map as small as that, I can't see anything other than an Elevate win.
It comes down to JCap again. I think he's kind of been their swing player in the hard points. If he's able to keep up, I'm not afraid for Looney. I'm not afraid for Aqua in this matchup. I think those two match up against Saints in Classic pretty well. I don't know what's going to happen there.
Really?
JCap versus Slack is the big battle for me.
I think Elevate cruise through that one. I really do. Yeah? I don't think it's going to be too difficult. I think they'll probably end up with like a 40-point lead. At game 2, though, Search and Destroy Skyrise. Envy's going to take that. No, I'm not even worried about that if I'm an Envy fan. Uplink comeback. Again, lots of eyes on how Octane's going to play. And for me, this is the really important game, because in my mind, in the predictions, I have Elevate winning that. If Envy take that, I think you're going to be right. I think Envy will win the series.
We're going to see. I'm excited. I think Envy's got this. Looking down at the last match, Optic Gaming FaZe. Big scary thing here for Optic Gaming. You're starting off on Drift Hardpoint.
This is like the 3rd time they've had to play that as map 1. It's tough. I can't see them winning it. Let's be honest. They've not looked good.
Last time against Envy.
They've not looked good. They've not looked good on that map. Against a team like FaZe, I think FaZe will win that. Then you go to a Search and Destroy Detroit, arguably one of their weaker maps from previous seasons. FaZe go 2-0 up. Uplink comeback. Historically a good map for them. Historically being the keyword. Then they went on a really cold spell where they didn't win it in 3 back-to-back events.
And we saw FaZe looking so strong on it last night behind Zuma's SMG.
This is why I was tempted to go with FaZe, but I give up to kind of the benefit of the doubt there. They are the away team, so they will have 3 hosts as well. It's worth mentioning. Hardpoint Solar, they split yesterday in scrims in the evening, 2-2. FaZe has beaten Optic before on this exact map, but I feel like that's where Formal's really going to step up and shine. Then Search and Destroy Riot to close out the evening. That's it. That's a coin to toss. That really is. I don't even want to call who would win that one.
All right, guys, that is it for our predictions, but we want to hear from you. Tweet at Benson and I. Let us know, who do you think is going to perform this evening?
What?
I'm going to wake up video games when we return.